Find yours at
That everything is supersized in Texas. Cowboys Stadium inspiring a major league wow factor for today's game. A space-age monument to technology and football. The wow factor for Arkansas resulting from their 1-2 record, hoping to put their critics on pause today. The wow factor in Aggieland provided by their jaw-dropping stats. Are they really that good? An old Southwest Conference showdown right now. Under the lights, welcome everyone to SEC College Football on ESPN. It's the 66th edition of the Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. And Bob, let's take a look at some of the headlines. Some people calling the Aggies the best unranked team in college football.
Mark, you're exactly right. You know, a lot of people around the country don't realize that Texas A&M is undefeated as the #1 ranked offense in all of college football. But tonight, we'll find out if A&M has improved that much or these stats white instead of maroon with those headgear.
You knew that was coming?
I didn't know.
You got to hook up with the equipment on it. Keep an eye on Dennis Johnson, number 33. He returned the opening kickoff of the season, 91 yards for a touchdown against Missouri State. It's Johnson. Found a nice seam and got beyond the 30. To the 31. Well, Ryan Mallett is a 6'7", 238-pound sophomore, a transfer from Michigan, completing 52% of his passes, has 7 touchdown tosses on the season versus just 1 interception. He says last week he didn't give his team a chance to win, and he's got to get them into much better plays when he has to this week. Check out the rest of the starting lineups at the top of your screen. Joe Adams and Greg Childs, the team's leading receivers, respectively. Michael Smith in the backfield gets the handoff. And Smith gains about 2, close to 3 yards, brought down by Terrence Frederick. It'll be second down and about 7 yards to go.
Take a look at Michael Smith there on that carry. First team All-SEC preseason, but he's had some injury problems, Mark. You know, he hurt his shoulder on the first play against Georgia. They need him to be full speed tonight.
Second down and 6. Mallett working out of the shotgun. Stands tall and is fired incomplete at the 40-yard line, intended for Lucas Miller. Let's check out the impact players this week.
These teams are mirror images, the same positions. We'll start with the quarterback for Arkansas. This kid may have the strongest arm in the country, loves to throw the deep ball. DJ Williams is a legitimate threat in the passing game. Both teams have one standout defensive lineman. For Arkansas, it's Malcolm Shepard, number 96.
3rd and 6 coming up for the Razorbacks. Little heat coming in to get to Mallett back to the 22. Von Miller with his 9th sack of the season. Tops in the nation.
The key for A&M is to move Von Miller around. You're going to see him come on an inside move right there and tackles the big quarterback low. That's 9 sacks on the season for Von Miller. A&M only had 14 last year as a football team.
Guess those previous 8 sacks weren't a fluke after all.
Wow.
Huh? 4th down. Here comes Breeding to punt. Harris back at his 40. Tries to reverse his field and is brought down at the 40-yard line, and that's where Jerrod Johnson will take the reins of this offense for Texas A&M. You talk about staggering numbers so far on the season. 68% completion rate, 9 touchdown tosses, and 0 interceptions. Very smart, very cagey quarterback. They put a lot of responsibilities on him back there underneath the center. But this arguably is a step up in competition from their previous 3 opponents. Check out the rest of the starting lineups at the top of your screen. Jamie McCoy, one of the main weapons at tight end. First down and 10 from their own 38-yard line. Johnson hands it off to Gray, and Gray with a nice move. Cyrus Gray down to the 30.
You're going to see Cyrus Gray, a young man from DeSoto High School, which is right down the street, Mark. Don't tell me that he's not excited to be playing this football game. He did that on his own. That play was designated to go to the right. He bent it all the way back to the left.
One of several players from DeSoto High School on that roster. This pass complete. Morrow. And another first down for the Aggies. Let's take a look at the impact players.
Same positions as Arkansas. We start with the quarterback. This is the first chance for a lot of people around the country to see Jerrod Johnson to play much improved. Jamie McCoy, a tight end playmaker. And on defense, we've already seen Von Miller with a sack.
Boy, what about the fast tempo of this Aggie offense? Johnson hands it off, and at the 15-yard line, Jerry Franklin brings down Cyrus Gray. And how important is fast tempo going to be in this game, Bob?
Well, obviously, A&M, Mark, is committed to the up-tempo game. Right here, they're huddling up. But what you see is why A&M, I think, is improved. They have some playmakers, and they have some speed on both sides of the ball.
Second down and 11 coming up. Johnson gets rid of it and wisely throws it out of bounds. Third and long coming up for the Aggies. Good heat up front by Davis, Adrian Davis.
Mark, you talk about Jerrod Johnson. You know, he's averaging 385 yards a game total offense. 320 passing, 65 yards rushing. The difference between Jerrod Johnson and Ryan Mallett, Jerrod Johnson is a legitimate threat to take off and run with the football.
Set a school record a couple of games ago, running for 3 touchdowns and passing for 3 in the same game.
And Ryan Tannehill, number 17 in the game, the backup quarterback.
There's Johnson, given plenty of time. And out of bounds. It'll be 4th down. Seemed to go through his entire progression, Bob, but couldn't find anybody. 4th down coming up for the Aggies, and in comes the field goal unit led by Randy Bullock.
Mark, I mentioned Ryan Tannehill in the game, the backup quarterback. Not to confuse people, he also plays a lot of wide receiver. He is the backup quarterback. He is the holder on field goal attempts. So if you're Arkansas, always expect the unexpected. But I think A&M on 4th and 12 will go ahead and kick this football.
Well, this one coming from 32 yards out. And Randy Bullock is true, now 4 of 5 on the season. A good start for a team facing a lot of critics talking about a soft schedule they've had. His days at Texas A&M, 1 of 12 siblings, 10 foster brothers and sisters. Oh, the puzzle's getting a little bit clearer now. Leads the FBF in points responsible for. There's your answer. One of the most prolific players in the entire nation on the main stage under the bright lights tonight for the first time in 4 games this season, and for the first time this year playing away from home. Johnson deferring, handed it off to Christian Michael.
And you know, the great thing about Jerrod Johnson, really, really respected on that campus at Texas A&M and around that Bryan College Station community. As good as he's played, Mark, people tell me he's even a better person.
A young man that's gone through a lot of adversity over the last couple of years after losing his father. Second down and 10. Completes this pass at the 26-yard line to Jamie McCoy. Pick up a 4 on the play, and there's Johnson. Yeah, a lot of good things, a lot of delicacies on the grill outside, part of the tailgate scene here at Cowboys Stadium. That looked like about half of the rack that I had last night.
And you know what's so impressive about this place, Mark? We commented driving in yesterday. It's really in a nice area. Here very close to Six Flags. There's a lot of green grass and grounds around for people to enjoy it. It's a great setup now.
Yeah, baseball stadium right across the way as well. Kristen Michael in the backfield on 1st down and 10. Pardon me, Michael Smith. Not much room there on the left side of the line of scrimmage. Hunter, one of the first ones to get there, a pickup of 2 on the play. Texas A&M, as we mentioned, playing its first game away from College Station this year. An interesting approach by Mike Sherman, showing his young team pictures of the stadium and the hotel before they got here.
Well, it has worked early in this game because A&M, people said they were more athletic this year than in past years. Early in this game, it looks as if they're more athletic.
2nd down and 8. Broderick Green on the carry. Gets about 3 on the play. Well, speaking of Mike Sherman, one of his former NFL teams, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers into Minnesota to take on Brett Favre for the Vikings. Oh, this one has a nice little juicy storyline going into it. Packers-Vikings on ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern Time. Mike Sherman, former coach of the Green Bay Packers during the Favre era.
You better block number 24 right here if you're Arkansas.
Mallett taking his time in the pocket, almost picked off. And it'll be 4th down coming up. Another 3 and out for the Arkansas offense. Kyle Magany.
Yeah, good pressure again by Matt Featherston. And Arkansas really struggling early in this football game, and you have to be impressed with this A&M defense because that was the biggest concern coming into this season, and they weren't really sure after the first 3 games of the year, but so far they're playing outstanding.
Dustin Harris back deep, calling for the fair catch at the 32-yard line where he corrals the ball.
The thing I've been impressed with A&M, Mark, they've moved Von Miller around. You see him come right there on an inside twist stunt. He's lined up an inside linebacker some in kind of a 3-man front. They knew coming into this game that Arkansas wouldn't just single block him. So they're moving Von Miller around a little bit. And all of a sudden, Matt Featherston stepping up because you're spending so much focus if you're Arkansas on Von Miller. You take a look at Joe Kynes right there. Excellent plan early in this game. And kind of a hangover from the Alabama game for Arkansas offensively.
1st down and 10. And off to Cyrus Gray. And let's go back to Wendy Nix in the studio. Wendy?
Mark, thank you. A Taco Bell studio update. LSU, one of 6 undefeated teams in the top 10 this week. Charles Scott up the middle. He'll break one off for 33 yards. His team trailing by 1 with under a minute to play. They would score, tack on 2, and win it 20-13.
All right, Wendy, on 2nd down and 5 back here. Johnson looking over to the sidelines for the call. Cyrus Gray, number 24, the deep back dotting the I. Little draw to Gray, and draw, well, might not have been the right play, but Gray made something out of it. Gray wearing number 24 in this game. He's one of 4 former DeSoto High School players on the roster wearing number 24 to honor Corey Borner, a former DeSoto High School player paralyzed during spring drills. There he is right there enjoying the game. 3rd down and 3. Johnson downfield, wide open. Jackson, touchdown Aggies.
Boy, right on cue, Mark. You talk about the emotion of this A&M team. This young man right here from DeSoto High School, A&M players wearing that number 24. Everybody excited to be back in Dallas. And Bran Jackson off the scramble by Jerrod Johnson, who was throwing going to his left. Big play.
And It's the 10th touchdown pass of the season for Jerrod Johnson, the 33rd of his career. That young man watching as a lot of his friends, former teammates in high school, doing it for him. Welcome back, everyone, to Arlington, Texas. The SEC on ESPN. Texas A&M with a quick 10-0 lead over Arkansas in a battle between two old Southwest Conference rivals. Last time these two teams met was 1991, folks, and my partner was a pretty good defensive coordinator with the Aggies.
That hair was a lot darker back in 91.
Johnson on the return. And shot down and stopped at the 22-yard line. Well, Cyrus Gray, wearing number 24, interesting gesture before the game. Von Miller going over to the young man, Corey Borner.
Yeah, you have Cyrus Gray and Von Miller, both DeSoto graduates. Corey Borner, you know, football is a game of emotion. A game of emotion. A&M right now, obviously more emotionally ready, more excited. And what a great moment for this young guy, and a great show of support from former DeSoto high school players.
And Borner, the player right there in the wheelchair, injured during spring drills. Mallett wide open in the middle of the field at the 35-yard line. Adams with the catch, and still on his feet, Joe Adams. A great answer for the Razorbacks.
Ryan Mallett throws the deep ball. Deep play action pass on 1st and 10. Just about as good as anyone I've seen. Great protection. And watch the run after the catch right here by Joe Adams. Just a sophomore. Mark, we talked about young dynamic receivers. Arkansas has 3 sophomore receivers that I think have a chance to be outstanding. Joe Adams is obviously one of them.
Team's leading receiver coming in. 1st down and goal to go. Play clock winding down. And they just get the playoff. Broderick Green with the carry. And Green picked up 4 on the play. Von Miller in on another stop for the Aggies. 2nd and goal coming up for the Razorbacks.
But it's amazing how you know it's coming. Against Georgia, Ryan Mallett on 1st and 10, which are running downs, through the deep play action in the first half, as good as I've seen a player do it. A&M knows that 1st and 10 is a big play action down. You still have to stop it, though.
Here's Green, and they stop that run. Von Miller, boy, he is ubiquitous tonight already with his 3rd tackle, one of them a sack.
Von Miller, very quick, very explosive first step. He right now is wearing these Arkansas offensive tackles out.
3rd and goal.
You can see the impact of that video screen on these players on the sideline.
Mallett with time. Complete. Touchdown. Green.
That effort right there, Mark Jones. I mentioned A&M from an emotional standpoint was higher, but that play right there, great effort on that touchdown run, will spark this Arkansas football team. Broderick Green, watch this effort. That's a great effort to get that ball in the end zone.
There was a missed tackle along his path by Jonathan Stewart. Regardless, though, Arkansas narrows that lead to 10-7. Boy, what a great answer from the Razorbacks.
You were doubting me a little bit when I said shootout. The way Arkansas's offense was struggling early. Are you back on the boat with me about a chance to get a lot of points in this game?
I'm breaking my ankles jumping back on that bandwagon. You know me. I'm with you, win or tie. But what a great scene here when you talk about this being a very nostalgic matchup between Texas A&M and Arkansas. This is what they're calling it, the Southwest Classic. The brainchild of Jerry Jones.
I love it.
Yeah, these teams will be getting together.
In fact, I'm taking this back to Phoenix with me.
That's a large.
But how about 10 years? This Classic is going to be here 10 years. It'll rival the Oklahoma-Texas game that they've dominated. Great for both teams because A&M recruits Dallas so heavily, but I think a home run for Arkansas, Mark. They're in the Southeastern Conference. The only chance they have to get back into this area to play is in this game. I mean, Jerry Jones, a great businessman, also a great Arkansas man, because they have to recruit Dallas-Fort Worth.
He says that he wants this venue to be a quote-unquote home away from home for other college football teams. Aggies on the return. Let's go back to Wendy Nix in the studio.
Mark, thank you. Notre Dame apparently not afraid to play with fire, and they do it again this week. First and goal from the 3, Jimmy Clausen to Robert Hughes. Irish will score. This is in overtime against Washington. So Washington with a chance to answer. Jake Locker to DeAndre Goodwin, who is just drilled. And that will be all she wrote. Notre Dame wins by a touchdown.
All right, thanks a lot, Wendy. Maybe you can tell Bob to give me my shirt back. First down and 10.
I saw your lip drop down the moment I took that shirt out of your hand.
I may go in the tank on you. Johnson completes it to McCoy, and McCoy with a first down out to the 30-yard line. And boy, you talk about some of the great names of the Southwest Conference. Frank Broyles right there in the middle, enjoying some of the delicacies here at Jerrod Jones's Palace, Cowboys Stadium.
That's a big-time shot, isn't it? Yeah. You think about all Jerry Jones has going. With this, the Cowboys, the loyalty to Arkansas is still there.
Kristen Michael out to the 38-yard line. Jerry Jones, a former offensive lineman back in the day for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Jimmy Johnson also on that team. But when you've got a benefactor with pockets like that. Well, here's Michael again into the boundary. You know, when Jerry Jones writes a check, the bank bounces.
And you know, Mark, you always associate big-time guys in their association school with the financial part. Obviously, T-Bone Pickens, Phil Knight, and Jerry Jones. But what jumps out at me, all three of these guys with so many things going on in their life, but the loyalty to their schools. Just like Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he's done so many things, but deep inside, he's still an Arkansas Razorback. I mean, it always comes back to where you played as a young man.
Great point. Here's Michael again on the pass. Nowhere to go. Brought down immediately. Yeah, you saw Phil Knight. He's, of course, affiliated with University of Oregon, of Nike acclaim, and T-Boone Pickens with Oklahoma State. Great new facility they built there.
And to continue on that theme of loyalty, these two fan bases, Arkansas and Texas A&M, they have as loyal a fan base. And that's why this is a pageant. This is an event for all these people to get together in Dallas. This will be a home run.
A lot of shades of red at our hotel and throughout the city. Johnson on 2nd and 11, wide open and dropped. That had 6 written all over it by Ryan Tannehill. He's made some big plays for them recently, but not that time.
We talked about this problem early on, the middle of the football field. Watch Ryan Tannehill just go untouched up the middle of the field. I have not seen many teams, Mark, I mentioned before, how wide they play their safeties. Georgia exploited that down the middle of the field. A&M had it right there.
3rd and 11. Johnson stepping up in the pocket, looking to run now. Looking to throw now. And a flag down on the reception caught by Howard Morrow. Bob, we remarked about the different styles of the two quarterbacks. You see Johnson able to make something out of nothing, and Mallett a little bit more stationary in the pocket.
Mark, I thought he maybe crossed that line of scrimmage and then came back behind the line of scrimmage. But you're right. I mean, his ability to scramble, that's going to be a problem all night because he scrambles and then throws.
The officials trying to sort this one out.
Pass interference, offense, number 24. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the snap. Repeat 3rd down.
They're going to move it back.
Yeah, you take a look at all this media. That's why it's a win-win for both teams coming up here in Dallas playing in this event. But that was a huge penalty right there for A&M. That would have been a 1st down conversion. You get the offensive pass interference on Cyrus Gray, number 24.
3rd and 27 coming up. Gray out to the 33-yard line. Yeah, Bob, you talked about this being a win-win because of all the attention and the media focus on this game. But of course, is it important that you win the game too still?
I was thinking about that yesterday when I came in. If you're a player, all the wow factor of walking in this building, but all you're going to remember when it was over, how did I play and how did we win? Mark, it always comes back to the game and the performance, no matter how nice the atmosphere is.
There's a little roll-out rugby-style kick by Breeding, and not a great effort by him at all. Maybe a little stage fright with some of the bright lights. This is what it looked like yesterday with the Aggies rolling into the new Cowboys Stadium with the huge video board. Look at the look on their faces. Not very different from ours, Bob, when we first took a look at that huge video board. Of course, Mike Sherman, the head coach, had an opportunity to show them pictures of the stadium so they wouldn't be so wowed, but they were anyway.
You better come up with a heck of a picture if you're going to take any wow factor away. But don't you agree with me that at the end of the day, it's like you can go out on the most beautiful golf course in America, but what you remember is how many balls you lost off the tee box at the end of the day, right?
Great point. Handoff is to Broderick Green. Green gains about 2 on the play down to the 36-yard line. So after a couple of quick scores, a field goal and a touchdown by Texas A&M, Arkansas rallied on its last drive with a touchdown, and now in pretty good field position with about 1 minute to go and change here in the first quarter of play.
And Mark, how the big play takes emotion away from a defense. That big pass by Mallett, A&M doesn't look as excited right now because you give up a big chunky yardage like that.
Mallett given plenty of time, tipped and incomplete harmlessly at the 17-yard line. Kyle Mangan tipped that ball away.
See the
3rd down and 7 coming up.
Really good pass protection here of late for Arkansas. You're looking now at Von Miller in the game. Always be cautious where he is, Mark. Looks like he's lined up at defensive end at the top of the field.
Set up a little screen. This is Mike Smith. And Smith knocked out of bounds right around the 25-yard line, but enough for a first down for the Razorbacks to keep the chains moving. He picked up 12 on that play, and Mallett looking a little bit more comfortable than he did in the first 3 series. I'd be comfortable too if Von Miller was on the sideline.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino feeling a little bit better right now. That big pass got this entire football team settled down for Arkansas. Gave him some confidence.
And a hit right at the line of scrimmage by Spencer Neely on Michael Smith. No gain on the play. That might do it for the first quarter of play.
Exciting first quarter, Mark.
I tell you, it kind of feels like the old Southwest Conference, doesn't it, Bob Davey? Huh?
Where's that wishbone, baby? I like that old wishbone.
What would Greg Hill think back after this?
ESPN Films.
Jevin Sneed to Brandon Bolden, a 12-yard strike, and Ole Miss leading 17-0. Elsewhere in the SEC, Lane Kiffin's Tennessee team trailing to Auburn 5-3. Mark?
All right, thanks a lot, Wendy. 13:15 to go here in the first half of play. Arkansas has scored 14 consecutive points to take the lead. Kristen Michael in the backfield beside Jerrod Johnson.
Kristen Michael, a true freshman, Mark. Very talented tailback.
Yeah, actually,
Timeout.
timeout called.
Texas A&M.
And we're going to take a timeout along with them. Mike Sherman in his second year at College Station. Turning the beat around a little bit for the Aggies. We'll be right back. Inaugural Southwest Classic, and a look at where some of the old members have migrated to in what used to constitute the old Southwest Conference. Arkansas to the SEC, Baylor, Big 12, Houston, and Rice in Conference USA. A&M and Texas in the Big 12, amongst others. Justin Michael, nice gain of about 7 yards.
Mark, you know, Arkansas fans may not agree with me on this, but I think Arkansas would be a tremendous fit in the Big 12. You know, now, they were proactive. In 1991, when they went to the SEC, there was no Big 12. And the Southwest Conference was kind of dissolving, but to me, they belong in the Big 12 now.
That's interesting. Johnson passes complete. And a first down out to the 42-yard line to Howard Morrow. But there were so many different dynamics that went into the change and how college football has evolved with the different conferences.
And it was a great move by Frank Broyles in Arkansas to get in the Southeastern Conference, but just geographically, recruiting base-wise, what a great fit to be playing the Texas and Texas A&Ms every year.
Justin Michael again with a nice hole up the middle. Down to the 32-yard line, and picked up of 9 on the play by the true freshman. Here's what's happening now. Texas A&M with 176 total yards. They have the edge against Arkansas. Coming up later, another edition of Davy Jones Locker. We'll talk a little motivation and how it factors in with Arkansas. And Bob Davy gives us his inventory report on his quarterly report. First quarter of the college football season pretty much in the books.
Mark, you saw in that last play A&M trying to do their hurry-up tempo offense. They had Arkansas confused on defense, but A&M couldn't get the snap count right. They had the 5-yard penalty. One of the drawbacks of the hurry-up is just trying to execute it a little bit in those situations.
Makes it 2nd and 6. And Johnson throws it away. Jamie McCoy drawing a lot of traffic and a lot of coverage.
And I look at this Texas A&M offense. I had a chance to study them on tape this week, and the skill players are really young, really good players. I think they have a bright future. The quarterback's a player. The tight end's a player. If there's a question mark, and it's a big question right now, this young offensive line is a work in progress.
Coach Sherman has had 16 freshmen play. 14 of them true freshmen have played so far this year. 3rd and 6. Johnson incomplete at the 33, and they'll have to punt. Jake Beckett with a little pressure up front on Jerrod Johnson. And 4th down coming up. Actually, Johnson on the field.
Mark, you talk about those young offensive linemen. Steven Barrero, number 64, a true freshman offensive tackle. You're going to watch right here at the top, 64, the true freshman on Jake Beckett. That's a tough matchup. And this guy was a defensive player, so a lot of growing pains for A&M on that offensive line.
Bob, they're going to go for it here on 4th down and 6.
Ryan Tannehill, 17, Mark.
Johnson and Tannehill fell down. He was the intended receiver, but he was tripped up maybe by his own self at the 30. He's calling for a flag from the official, but he's not going to get it. Razorbacks take over on downs when we come back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Drink it slow. Doctor's orders.
One of the great scenes here in Arlington and Dallas, the Texas State Fair in Dallas. That is a fried Snickers bar, folks, and that is fried butter. What they don't show you is the stomach pump that you might need sometimes after. That looks good.
That's wrong.
That looks good.
Mark, that is just wrong.
Hey, we went on our run today.
I know.
Yeah. Never did find the golf course that producer Kim Belton told us to look for. We just kept going in circles. This is Ronnie Wingo on the run. Gain of about 6 on the play.
Another true freshman running back in there for Arkansas. I'm telling you, both these coaches, Mike Sherman, Bobby Petrino, are building these programs with young skill players. This guy out of St. Louis, Ronnie Wingo, a highly recruited running back. I mean, they've played about 4 or 5 running backs tonight.
Michael Smith. Smith in the backfield. And a little motion. Von Miller and DJ Williams on each other.
Ball start. Offense.
Well, Bob, we saw
5-yard penalty.
the fried butter and the fried Snickers. Which fried food would you eat if you went to the Texas State Fair? Which of those, Bob? I know you've gone on this healthy kick for me.
I'm going to draw.
I'm not sure I like it.
None of that, none of that, none of that, none of that. Only a chance
Intrigued by
that chicken fried bacon. But, man,
I'm looking for
that's just wrong. That's just wrong. I mean, we're talking about health care in this country.
Speak for yourself, man. Speak for yourself.
I mean, that's health care.
I'm down with
eliminate that stuff.
Down with the chicken fried steak. There's Michael Smith on the carry. I tell you, that defensive line getting fat on some Michael Smith that time, eating him up. 10.5 minutes to go in the first half.
And right now it becomes Von Miller time. It's 3rd down, 9.5. Obvious passing situation. I doubt Arkansas will single block him, Mark.
Former linebacker that was really good, actually, when he found out that he could have some success at the position on the position change. So says Joe Kynes. Almost got to Mallett, and it's picked off. Mangan. And the Aggies with the turnover. Von Miller with the pressure, and there's a flag down as well. Flag down at the 30-yard line.
Block below the waist. Defense, number 15. That 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Von Miller wreaking havoc again, Bob.
I mentioned don't single block him. Watch Von Miller right here at the top. Right here on an inside move. This telestrator has gone crazy and gave me DeMarco Murray right there. But Von Miller, one-on-one inside move on Ray Dominguez. You cannot single block him.
Wow, he totally whiffed on that block. On the run, this is Gray. Cyrus Gray with a nice gain inside the 40, picked up 6. Tremaine Thomas making the stop from his safety spot for Arkansas. Mallett with only his 2nd interception thrown of the season. He felt the heat from Von Miller.
He did, Mark, and on the backside, Mallett had no idea he was coming other than to know that's number 24. But I don't think you can leave him one-on-one now in an obvious passing situation.
2nd and 4. Johnson avoiding the rush. Still on his feet. Boy, did everything but complete the pass at the end of the play. Cyrus Gray was the intended receiver.
One thing I noticed watching film this week, just like Jerrod Brown from West Virginia, the quarterback, he's a tremendous scrambler, but put the football away if you're Jerrod Johnson. See how he holds that football out extended, Mark? Somebody is going to strip that football from him from the backside. I realize he's trying to make a play, throw the ball on the run, but you have to hold the ball tight to your body. He will get stripped.
Yeah, great point. He's missed 5 of his last 6 passes. 3rd and 4 coming up. A designated quarterback draw. And Jerrod Johnson gets the first down for the Aggies. A great 2-sport star, Bob, going back to his days at high school. Actually was a professional prospect in both basketball and baseball as a sophomore in high school. Actually hit the jugs gun at about 91 miles per hour with his fastball. Actually recruited by Dennis Francione. Grew up always an Aggie. His dad, Larry Johnson, played at A&M. That was a great call. The quarterback draw right there on 3rd and long to slow that Arkansas rush down. First down and 10. Here he goes again, looking to run it. This time nowhere to go. Brought down behind the line of scrimmage at the 36. Well, after winning at Dover, defending champ Jimmy Johnson has his sights set on current points leader, the ageless wonder, Mark Martin. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues at Kansas. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 Eastern on ABC. To be 2nd down back at the 36, 13 to go. This Arkansas defensive line taking over this football game right now. A&M really struggling trying to block those guys up front. Malcolm Shepard, number 96 for the Razorbacks, one of the leaders. Again, Ryan Tannehill in the slot right here. Backside heat coming on Johnson, gets it off. And that should have been intercepted at the 17-yard line. Instead, it's incomplete. Intended. Actually, Elton Ford right there should have had it. And we got a flag as well on the play.
I don't know what they're going to call right here. Howard Morrow reached out and grabbed Elton Ford. Can it be offensive pass interference?
Pass interference. Offense, number 5.
There you go.
Yeah.
Still second down.
Let's take a look again at Howard Morrow, number 5, on Elton Ford, the safety. Yeah, that ball was going to be intercepted.
That was worth taking,
grabbed
actually.
his left arm, yeah. That's a great story, Elton Ford, Mark. 3 vertebrae coming back from an accident or an injury last year against Ole Miss. 3 broken vertebrae in his neck. Elton Ford, that's a great comeback story. Yeah. Number 9.
It's the last 4 games of last season. Just getting his timing back now. Here's Johnson on second and real long. Completes the pass. And Christian Michael got rocked near midfield. It'll be 3rd down and long. Gordon with the hit that time for the Razorbacks. A 4-yard gain.
Yeah, David Gordon with a great tackle on the screen. Boy, that was a huge offensive pass interference penalty.
It's a good sign for the secondary for the Hogs, because last week they were victimized big time by Alabama. They've given up some big hits so far this year. 3rd and 23. Johnson incomplete, and he doesn't seem to be getting his feet set. Intended for Tannehill.
Mark, you hit the nail on the head right there. He's lost confidence in his pass protection. He's looking to bail out of there right away. But give credit to this Arkansas defensive line. They are controlling this football game right now.
Jerrod Norton, Bob, back for the punt at his own 10-yard line. Bobbles it, and it's fumbled. It's loose. A&M with the ball. Recovered by Bryson. Jerrod Norton couldn't find the handle on this one.
That just shouldn't happen, Mark. I mean, he pulled away from that football. You just have to catch the football, obviously, if you're Jerrod Norton right there. I mean, he never got close enough and centered up under the ball. He tried to reach for it. Huge, costly turnover.
Boy, they get the ball, A&M does, in great field position here at the 12-yard line. Johnson keeps it himself, and he's brought down at the 9. Bob, how did the Aggies get Johnson back into a good rhythm like he was early in the first quarter?
I think they have to run the football some. I mean, you look at Christian Michael in there, number 33. I mean, he's an explosive runner. They have to slow the Arkansas pass rush down by running the football. The little predetermined quarterback run right there. Pretty good call.
Gain 3. Well, this time it wasn't such a good call. He put it on the ground. Picked up by the Razorbacks. Franklin, Jerry Franklin is going to go close to 90 yards. Room service, Hogs.
We talked about ball protection. Jerrod Johnson. That one, though, Tejada Wright put a lick on him, knocked that football out of there. And the Aggie co-eds in shock right now.
85 yards, Bob Davie, the other way. And the Razorbacks leading 20-10 with the extra point to follow. Now, you had said it earlier that Johnson was holding that ball very carelessly, very loose. That time it may have cost Texas A&M 6 points. Bullock with the extra point. Man, after jumping out ahead 10-0, the Razorbacks have rallied with 20 consecutive points.
And how about Jerry Franklin, Mark, picking that football up and running it? A guy that was ejected against Georgia, felt like he let his teammates down. Isn't that the great thing about sports? You always get a chance to come back now.
Came back and made a very passionate speech in front of all his teammates, asking for their forgiveness, and they said it was okay. I tell you, he keeps making plays like that.
You got it. I was just going to say, you know how you get their forgiveness and get out of the coach's doghouse? Pick it up and run it to the house. I think A&M may have used their challenge right here. Let's take a look at it. Quarterback draw again. It's out.
And 85 yards the other way by Jerry Franklin.
Again, ball security. You see there late, Mark, that ball was a little bit on the side of his body right there. But again, I think a swarming Arkansas defense here. Right there. He did not protect that football. That ball started to swing out of there again. Ryan Mallett. A lot of different ways to score touchdowns, isn't it?
We'll find out the verdict on the challenge when we come back. The touchdown stands. That's the verdict, and the extra point is good. And Arkansas with 21 consecutive points to lead 21-10 with 6:25 to go in the first half.
Isn't it amazing, Mark, how you look at Arkansas, throws the interception, Ryan Mallett. They fumble a punt, and all of a sudden they pick up a fumble and run it back, and they have 21 points on the board. I mean, Arkansas has thrown an interception and fumbled a punt here, but they just scored a touchdown off the A&M turnover by Jerrod Johnson.
Not part of the game plan, right?
Not part of the game plan.
Now the task for Texas A&M is trying to get this thing back on the rails as they trail by 11 points after a 10-0 lead.
And you really do.
They lost a timeout too during the challenge.
Exactly, but I think it was a good challenge. I mean, a game-changing play like that, you go ahead and challenge it. But for Texas A&M right now, you have to get settled down, control the Arkansas defensive line, run the football a little bit because they are teeing off on your quarterback. And Jerrod Johnson is losing confidence right now. We've seen that as this game's progressed.
Johnson came into the game ranked number 3 nationally in total offense, but after the first couple of series of the ball game, hasn't been the same quarterback. It's going to be Lionel Smith at the 4. And Smith is going to be brought down at the 26-yard line by Ramon Broadway. Let's go back to Wendy.
Mark, thank you. SportsCenter right now. Sam Bradford made the trip to Miami but did not start. Landry Jones did, however. He's looking, and he will find Cameron Kelly for the strike. Oklahoma leading Miami 7-0. And a pair of wounded Giants, USC and Cal. Joe McKnight rips off a 38-yard run. Trojans up 7-0. Both games on your ABC networks.
All right, Wendy, back here. Jerrod Johnson trying to find his rhythm. Incomplete, intended for his #1 target, Jamie McCoy, the team's leading receiver. 2nd and 10, Bob.
And again, Jake Paquette, the right defensive end, the matchup with Steven Barrero. He is owning the freshman, which that's realistic. That should happen. You have a more experienced player on a freshman. But right now, Jerrod Johnson running for his life, Mark.
You talk about the freshman offensive lineman right there, Barrera. Mike Sherman telling us earlier this week that at some point he could have half of his team on the field being true freshmen. It's kind of a scary prospect when you think about it. Cyrus Gray, the deep back out of the eye. Play clock winding down and a flag down as a result. This offense a little disconcerted and discombobulated right now. It's going to be delay of game penalty against Texas A&M.
Play calling so important. Your quarterback right now losing some confidence. We look at Nolan Cromwell over there on the sideline, offensive coordinator from A&M, but you have to get this team settled down.
certainly do, Bob. Johnson has missed on 7 of his last 9 pass attempts. 2nd and 15. And he throws it away again. This guy's been under some big heat. Jerrod Johnson has, Bob.
Mark, you're exactly right. That's the story of the game right now for me. You see again Jake Paquette on the backside on the freshman. Again, Paquette, just the power rush. Now they're starting to roll him out, kind of a sprint out kind of attack. But he is being harassed by this Arkansas defense. Keep in mind, this is a Southeastern Conference defensive line. Much, much more athletic than anyone they've played.
Like Sherman says, this is a step up in the level of competition for us. Johnson downfield for Tannehill, and he overshoots him incomplete. And it's 4th down coming up for the Aggies, a 3 and out.
Mark, you have to be curious. In my opinion, try to get the running game going a little bit to give your quarterback some confidence. Also slow that rush down. And now if you're Arkansas, just catch the punt.
Yeah, Jerrod Norton back there fumbled the last punt. Strangely enough, they ended up a couple plays later getting a touchdown out of it the other way, as A&M gave it right back to them for 6. Catches it on the run at the 44. Norton trying to atone for that fumble on the Aggie side of midfield, where appetites being satiated all across the state. Is it fried PB&J, fried butter? We'll find out. We took a poll. We'll find out what America wants, Bob Davie. Deep fried on the other side.
Okay, so I've done the math on this.
Never deep fry anything in this part of the country. And this is the poll that we took. Which fried food would America eat at the fair? Bob, you were right. Chicken fried bacon.
Yeah, but I'm not eating it. I mean, I don't want to get on my soapbox there again, but how about some fresh veggies and fruit, man?
Hey.
I mean, fried?
You got to have some fun once in a while. Indulge. Pass complete. Mallett indulging. Joe Adams almost lost the ball, but lost the defenders instead, who were in chase for a 1st down. Picked up 24 yards.
Yeah, you see Joe Adams in the open field on Kyle Mangan, the linebacker. That's a tough matchup. Again, these young, talented receivers. Don't you see this Arkansas football team just gaining confidence since that big 1st and 10 pass by Ryan Mallett? It's been all Arkansas, Mark.
Yeah, this is a huge part of the schedule and huge game for them. They need to even the scales at 2-2. They come in 1-2 with a murderous row schedule coming up. Broderick Green taking the handoff and met up the middle of the 23. Let's check in with Wendy.
Mark, thank you very much. Coming up on the Outback Steakhouse halftime report, a thriller in Athens, an upset in East Lansing, and an extremely emotional win for the Boston College Eagles. I'm joined by Tide Mache, Robert Smith. We'll see you at the half.
How about your Florida State Seminoles?
They're taking a hit.
They lost up in Boston today.
Yeah, they're falling on some tough times, and then a tough game coming up next week against Georgia Tech in Tallahassee for them. Michael Smith in the backfield. Nice play fake by Mallett. Into the end zone and incomplete, intended for Jarius Wright, one of the fastest receivers on the field for the Razorbacks. And Bobby Petrino's recruiting some speed. He feels that this program's on the cusp of turning the corner a little bit.
And he has his kind of quarterback, you know, and I know his dad's watching out there, Bob Sr. This guy grew up around football. His dad was a head high school coach. He was a college coach at Carroll College in Montana. His brother Paul is the offensive coordinator. I mean, Bobby Petrino has been around offensive football all his life.
And Ryan Mallett has had a good chance to assimilate to the system. Had a year to run the scout team while he transferred from Michigan. 3rd and 8 when we come back to Arlington, Texas. Leadership manual, which is an important part of the playbook in the big picture for Arkansas, because Bobby Petrino and Paul Petrino this year during the summer had 7 a.m. meetings with some pivotal, some 15, 16 players who they felt could influence the rest of the team. They had leadership conferences with homework assignments included. Bob, how do you affect the leadership of a team when you take
First of all, I think it's a great idea to delegate that to his brother Paul. Let Paul take that program. They had 16 or 17 kids that showed up. He said not only did they get some great leaders, they got some great followers out of it. So everybody was affected in a positive way.
That pass incomplete into the end zone, intended for Joe Adams. It was interesting that Petrino said that players learned a lot about themselves and what other players thought about them. They became better leaders, and surprisingly, Bob, he said some players became better followers.
Yeah, I love it, Mark. But can I say, and I'm not being cynical, keep recruiting the Ryan Malletts, the Joe Adams, those young receivers. But it is a combination: attitude, leadership, and talent. I think this Arkansas program is much, much improved over a year ago.
Alex Tejada in to attempt this field goal from 38 yards out. And Tejada is true. Petrino's team leading 24-10. We'll be right back.
There is half the adventure, but where you go and what you do depends on the decisions you make today. One of the most important decisions you can make is where to go to college. Nothing can take you further in life than a good education. So when you're ready to accelerate your life, come to the university that puts you first, the University of Arkansas. The adventure is just beginning.
Stadium in Arlington, Texas. 24 unanswered points by the Razorbacks, and they lead by 14. Lionel Smith on the kickoff return, and a nice one out to the 40-yard line for Texas A&M. But the question that begs right now is what do they do offensively to get back on the rails and back in rhythm after that 34-yard kickoff return. Inside this $1.2 billion palatial stadium.
Mark, one guy we haven't seen much of tonight is Malcolm Shepard, number 96, the outstanding defensive lineman for Arkansas.
That might have been his time to step.
Yeah, he has not been in the football game, but again, this defensive line right now is teeing off on this young defensive line. This kid right here, 96, that's an impact football player in the Southeastern Conference. He has not been in this football game much.
He leads the team with 4.5 tackles for loss coming into this one. He leads all Razorbacks with 9 career sacks. Kristen Michael, the lone back beside Jerrod Johnson. And Johnson incomplete, intended for Jamie McCoy down in the middle of the field. McCoy didn't even seem like he turned around. Didn't seem like he was expecting the ball to come his way.
Mark, you're exactly right. Again, they tried to get that football down the middle of the field. This does not look like the same offense that we saw the first 3 weeks. Obviously doesn't look like the same offense we starting this football game. You know, you think back to Ryan Tannehill being wide open on that pass earlier in the game. A&M has kind of gone backwards right now on offense since that point.
A&M trying to silence the critics that say that they've played an extremely soft schedule, which no respect to New Mexico, Utah State, and UAB might prove to be true. That pass incomplete at the 47-yard line, and it's a 3 and out for the Aggies. A flag down on the play. Matt Harris there on the coverage for the Razorbacks, son of former Cowboy Cliff.
Another receiver downfield. Offense. Penalties decline. 4th down.
Well, Aaron Rodgers leads the Green Bay Packers into Minnesota to take on Brett Favre and the Vikings. Packers-Vikings, ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Coverage beginning with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 o'clock Eastern. And boy, what a comeback Favre led last week, huh, against San Francisco.
And it's the Mike Sherman Bowl. You know, right. Brett Favre, who he coached, Aaron Rodgers, who he drafted at Green Bay. And it looks to me like Aaron Rodgers is going to be outstanding.
And a lot of questions about how he'd do filling in for the man in Green Bay. A 33-yard punt, nothing on the return. Norton called for the fair catch. Bob, you've worked with Mike Sherman. How do you characterize his strengths as a coach?
We go back a long way. 1979, I believe, at the University of Pittsburgh. Then we were together at Tulane. We were together at Texas A&M. This guy is a grinder. And by that, I mean it in a positive way. He's a very detailed, hard-working guy and a great recruiter.
And a screen pass set up by Mallett for the lead. And a convoy of blockers ahead of DeAnthony Curtis. And Curtis with a nice gain inside Aggie territory at the 42-yard line. Eddie Brown finally making the tackle.
Yeah, Mark, you talk about a convoy. That screen was set up beautifully right there. Watch the big lineman. I mean, only Trent Hunter out in space. And how many running backs for Arkansas? DeAnthony Curtis, a guy getting his hands on the football. I'm telling you, they've got something going, Mark, with these young skill players.
Michael Smith in there right now beside the quarterback Mallett. That pass complete at the 36-yard line. Lucas Miller makes the catch. Lucas Miller returning last week against Alabama for the first time this year after a broken collarbone that he suffered back in August. Makes the catch, set up 2nd down and 2 now for the Razorbacks.
And you look at Ryan Mallett. You know, this kid was rated the #2 quarterback in the nation out of high school. Texarkana, Texas. Didn't go to Arkansas at the time, even though he grew up an Arkansas fan, because Mitch Mustaine had committed earlier as the quarterback to Arkansas. So he goes to Michigan. Now he's back home.
The system at Michigan wasn't going to be conducive to the way that he wanted to play. Mallett fires. That's going to be complete at the 33-yard line. To Jarius Wright. Yeah, we talked about a pickup of 5 on the play. And Mallett, how many times have you recruited Batesville, Arkansas, Bob?
I didn't go much to Arkansas, man. We didn't have to leave Texas when I was at Texas A&M now.
Texas High School Player of the Year. 3-0. Defeated Notre Dame, Penn State, and Minnesota as a true freshman at Michigan. And then Rich Rodriguez came in. The two of them sat down and thought a move would be best for him.
Yeah, and then he got up to 265 pounds at Arkansas, eating some of that fried stuff you've been talking about all night.
Trying to get fat on the defense. Right with the right move. Touchdown, Hogs.
Mark, you have to love how he just flat foot stands in the pocket. You talk about a prototype NFL quarterback. Watch him stand in this pocket at 6'7" and just deliver the football. He throws the deep ball when he's on as good as any young guy I've seen. And again, these young receivers, there's another one, Jarius Wright, #4, only a sophomore.
The extra point is no good by Tejada, but Mallett right there throwing another touchdown pass. 2nd touchdown catch of the season by Jarius Wright. Petrino upset about the missed extra points, but his team still leading by 20.
Mark, if you watch what I mean by Ryan Mallett not flinching in the pocket, watch him follow this football, even though Featherstone's in his face. Look at him right there, looking downfield. He has great confidence standing in that pocket and keeps his focus. You know, a lot of guys in Alabama, he was distracted by the Alabama pass rush. He's not distracted tonight.
It's interesting that his accuracy due in part maybe to Garrett McGee, the quarterback coach, who made him read Phil Sims's book and convinced him to add a little bit of touch on his passing as opposed to maybe taking a little, you know, he used to throw it admittedly a little bit too hard when he first got there. On the return, it's Lionel Smith. A&M a little bit sideways right now, and we go back to last week, a different looking Arkansas team.
Well, Mark, they went into the Alabama game ranked #2 in the nation in total offense. They came out number 16 in total offense. They gave up a lot of big plays defensively, and they got harassed on offense. You know what? The argument, though, playing Georgia and Alabama, even though they got beat, did it prepare him now? Better prepared to play than A&M tonight, who played the weaker schedule. That's always the argument.
Coming off a game against UAB, A&M. Mallett threw for just 160-plus yards in that game. Johnson incomplete. But Jake Beckett was bringing a little bit of steam Johnson's way.
And Mark, you have to again to leave Steven Barrera, number 64, a true freshman again on his own right here. I mean, that's an impossible matchup for that young freshman. You know, Cyrus Gray in the backfield, a great opportunity to chip that defensive end before you release on the pass route. You cannot leave him one-on-one.
He's going to run it this time. This is Gray making a nice move, still on his feet. And across the 25-yard line, picked up about 6 on the play. It'll be 3rd down. And about 4 to go for Texas A&M as we approach a minute to go here in the first half. This has been a real swing in momentum ever since, well, the first 2 series offensively for the Aggies.
Well, there's the matchup.
Malcolm Shepard in the ball game now for the Hogs. The pass out of the backfield. And that's Gray again, brought down by Ramon Broadway, but he got enough for the first down at the 31. Well, here's what's happening now. Arkansas with 30 unanswered points after trailing 10-0. And coming up, Bob Davie with his quarterly report as we have a quarter of the college football season pretty much in the books in the state of Texas poll. Johnson incomplete at the 45. Intended for Wachuku.
We're just going to call him Easy.
Easy, man.
Wachuku, the receiver, but I don't think I've ever heard of a guy 4 touches in a single game and have 4 touchdowns as Easy, number 7, did. A true freshman out of right here in the Dallas area.
Somo Wachuku. 2nd and 10. Johnson this time tucked the ball away, Bob Davie, before he got hit. It's about 3 yards short of the first down, picked up 7. And Texas A&M calls its final timeout with 18 seconds to go in the first half. Last time these two teams met, you'd have to turn the way back machine to 1991, and my partner was the architect of that wrecking crew defense.
Yeah, Mark, I remember this game well in College Station. It was an ESPN game. Arkansas came out and ran the wishbone against us. See Bucky Richardson right there, the quarterback.
One of his few picks. And in the end, Bucky Richardson, though, a little bit too much at the end. There's that option you alluded to, Bob. You still have a soft spot for that.
That's when ball was ball right there. But, you know, Arkansas, you see how fiery Bucky Richardson was. But to show how things have changed, in that game, Arkansas ran 42 plays in the game. A&M played Utah State a couple weeks ago. Both teams had over 90 plays in the game. Both teams.
3rd and 3. Johnson to Tannehill into Arkansas territory at the 47-yard line. 15-yard pickup.
You see Tannehill, they're a little bit nervous about playing him at wide receiver. Mark, you know he's a great wide receiver. The drop off to the number 3 quarterback is so dramatic. He is the backup quarterback.
They go to him again, Bob, and he makes the catch. He's got to get down, and they got to get the, well, too late. They run out of time. That's going to be the end of the first half of play. The Aggies trying to silence the doubters that thought that their schedule was misrepresentative of the 3-0 record that they have coming into this game.
Second on the clock. The ball was dead before time ran out. One last play.
Going to put 1 second on that clock. Give A&M a field goal opportunity right here, I would think, with 1 second, right?
Keep Johnson on the field. Get that thing snapped right away. Got to go into the end zone. Underneath, Gray. Nobody to lateral it to, and brought down harmlessly at the 8-yard line, and that will punctuate the end of the first half. Arkansas storming back to lead 30-10. Coming up next, the Outback Steakhouse halftime report. Wendy Nix, have you ever had chicken fried butter?
I have to say, Mark Jones, I haven't had chicken fried butter, but I am from the South and will fry just about anything. So that's the good news. Welcome inside the Outback Steakhouse halftime report. Robert Smith, Todd McShay. I'm Wendy Nix. Florida and Texas. We held our breath.
You ever heard of chicken bark?
I have not heard of chicken bark. Florida and Texas off today, but that's not to say there aren't plenty of meaningful matchups. And for the first one, we head west, a pair of wounded giants in California.
Kevin Riley's got to get off to a fast start, back this USC defense off.
All right, here he is. Riley rolls out, intercepted by Taylor Mays in the end zone.
Only 12 of 31 last week against Oregon. Not off to a good start, obviously.
Ensuing USC possession, Joe McKnight breaks down the right sideline. This is what he can do and is initially ruled down at the one. Let's take another look.
You look at unbelievable play, sticking the arm. That's a poster right there, Robert Smith.
I agree. That would be so nice to have that shot on your wall, wouldn't it?
Yeah, maybe
you can do
basement.
that. Todd, you can do that.
USC with the 7-0 advantage. That is until this. Damian Williams will take it 66 yards. When he gets there, the Trojans will make a statement. They lead 17-0. Meanwhile, number 17 Miami hosting number 8 Oklahoma. In South Florida, Landry Jones starting for Oklahoma. Jakari Harris, though, throws deep, intercepted by Dominique Franks.
Must have been some sort of miscommunication there. You know, one of the receivers zigs when he's supposed to zag. Jakari Harris, none of his receivers within 10 yards of that one. Bad throw.
Up next, Oklahoma. Landry Jones rolls right, finds Cameron Kenny in the end zone. Sooners on the board first.
That's a heck of a throw for a backup quarterback we knew nothing about 3 weeks ago.
He has filled in admirably. This offense has been a bit more methodical, but they're still winning. Harris to Jimmy Graham, 18 yards. 10-7, Oklahoma on top. The SEC trying to...
Welcome back, everyone, to Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's SEC on ESPN. Arkansas leading 30-10, rallying with 30 consecutive points in the latter part of the first quarter and the rest of the second quarter. And right now getting started here in the second half. Texas A&M will receive the kick. And a good thing for the Aggies, they get a chance to get a hold of this football and try and get something done with it, because for most of the first half they struggled offensively, and of great concern is the inefficiency of their quarterback, Jerrod Johnson, who coming into this game was number 3 in the country in total offense.
And Mark, he made some plays. I mean, you look at the statistics, you know, A&M with 259 yards of offense in the first half, but the big fumble that was picked up by Arkansas's Jerry Franklin and run back for a touchdown, the major key mistake.
And Texas A&M, Bob, facing a little bit of adversity for the first time this season. After wins against New Mexico, Utah State, and UAB, this is a different quality opponent. Lionel Smith on the kickoff return. And Smith out to the 28-yard line. Well, it's been a challenge keeping Johnson comfortable in the pocket. Naming bigger lights than the ones that were up there.
Was it up there?
Ago, yeah. Good. I was peeking for you. Johnson completes the pass at the 33-yard line to Randall Jackson.
But you know, speaking of that, excuse me, Mark, speaking of that video board, I thought it might be a distraction, but it really is an enhancement now. I have never seen as clear a picture, as dynamic, vibrant color as that board. It really is. It's outstanding.
You see some of the players looking up at it during the course of the game as well. 1st and 10. Nowhere to go for Christian Michael. And Michael stopped up by Demario Ambrose. And, you know, players don't always have to ask coaches what happened on the last play. They can just don't even have to strain their necks. Just peek up. That's how you do it.
Yeah, you can't help but look up at that board now.
Well, Johnny Holland couldn't do that back in the day, right?
Johnny Holland now coaches with the Houston Texans. Great linebacker at A&M.
Second and 10. Johnson firing complete at the 40-yard line to number 84 again. Jackson, who makes another catch. Down to the 41-yard line. An 8-yard pickup. That's the look inside on the field and up at the board. Meanwhile, outside, there's the look from Cowboys Stadium. Raining outside.
Heavy rain.
You got that umbrella for us? No me and team, right? Kristen Michael. No, with a first down.
A&M with a pretty good little drive going right now has settled down. We see Malcolm Shepard. We've been talking about number 96, the excellent defensive lineman from Arkansas, back in this football game.
And that quick tempo going. Johnson throws a wobbly pass. Knocked away at the 30-yard line nicely. Boy, that secondary that was under so much criticism for their performance last week against Alabama.
Again,
playing well.
You're right, and throws down the middle of the field. Arkansas has adjusted to that. And again, Elton Ford, number 9, the safety who has worked himself back into a starting position.
Second down. Incomplete. And a flag down on the play as well.
Mark, I'm afraid we're going to get Malcolm Shepard.
Defense, number 96. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Malcolm Shepard's going to come around on this twist stunt. Watch him loop around right here. And it looked like a blow to the face. Yeah. Hand right to the face right there of Jerrod Johnson.
Shepard on the sidelines. Pretty good story. Partially blinded in one eye, actually. Suffers from blurred vision in one eye, the result of a childhood accident playing with his older brother. Where's that protective shield? But anything but a disability for him. One of the standouts on that line. This is Cyrus Gray on the pass out of the backfield. Stopped by Wendell Davis. He picked up 4 on the play.
Mark, you mentioned that eye. Lack of vision in one eye. The Arkansas coaches went to him and said, maybe we should play you on the left side or the right side, you know, so you can use the vision in your good eye. Marcus Shepard said, Coach, that's not a liability to me at all. That's not a disability to me. It doesn't matter what side you put me on.
Second down and 6. Johnson fires a strike complete. That's Ryan Swope with the catch. And it's a first down for Mike Sherman's crew, picking up 8.
In this whole game, you know, particularly in college football, throwing the football is about pass protection. You can see when you don't pressure Jerrod Johnson, he's limping around a little bit now. There's no question that shot on the knee, but he'll stand in there and throw it as long as you can protect him.
Johnson keeps himself on a little quarterback run and stopped up right at the line of scrimmage at the 25 by Davis again.
See A&M again in the no-huddle, up-tempo offense. A&M offensive lineman. It looks like Kevin Matthews, the center. No, excuse me, it is not. It's 76, Michael Schumard.
Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continuing at Kansas City. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 Eastern on ABC.
You know, there was a great article in Time magazine about this stadium. It was an excellent article. And Jerry Jones talked about only 7% of NFL fans have ever been to a football game, a live football game, only 7%. So he's trying to get to that 93% and make this experience in here better than it is at home. And you know, when you go out in the concourse areas here, and these big screen, flat screen TVs, it is truly a remarkable place.
It sure is.
Not just inside the stadium, but outside the stadium to watch a game.
You saw the 2,000 gallons of paint that it used, and there's the architect of it all. He likes the food, too.
He's not paying for that popcorn, I promise you.
Meanwhile, Schumard coming off the field for the Aggies. 10th play of the drive coming up. Second and 10.
You can see in this style of offense with a scrambling quarterback like Jerrod Johnson, can he stay healthy, Mark?
He hands it off this time, and nowhere to go for Cyrus Gray. Stopped up behind the line of scrimmage. Coming in, he was He's the team's leading rusher. Came in with just 200 yards, averaging 4.5 per carry. We told you about him wearing that number 24 tonight. One of 4 former DeSoto High School players on the roster wearing that number to honor Corey Borner, former DeSoto High School player paralyzed during spring drills. There's the young man watching the game. Boy, Johnson under heat right after the snap, downfield for Tannehill and way out of bounds.
Mark, just back to as A&M progresses through this season as they try to get the ball to Tannehill. Jerrod Johnson is going to take a licking as they get into the Big 12 schedule. First of all, his style of play, their style of offense, and their lack of offensive linemen. Keeping him healthy is key. You know, Ryan Tannehill is the backup. You see him coming in to hold right here on this extra point, but quarterback health at A&M will be an issue before this season's over.
This field goal attempt from about 47 yards out. And this rocket goes right through the uprights from Randy Bullock. That's a career-long field goal. And Texas A&M drawing a little closer. Of course, Bob, you talked about the importance of this game. It affects recruiting, and this was the scene last night. High school football, Friday Night Lights, Texas style. #1 in the state, Cedar Hills against South Grand Prairie. A lot of pageantry, and Ben Molina with a long run sets up the field goal. Molina with a nice open field shuffle. And Cedar Hill ends up winning it 47-32. That was the final score.
47-32.
That's a lot of points.
They used to play some defense in this state. You know, when I was coaching from 85 to 93 at A&M, I mean, they played some defense. But it's all about this spread, no huddle offense, which really was kind of started here in the state of Texas. But great high school football in this state, particularly right here in this Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex.
I can see you in that rental, man, just cruising along the interstate. Got your little your chocolate shake and your burger stop that you hit in a couple hours, right? Approaching 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. Boy, Adams again having a little trouble. Boy, Adams still on his feet. Pretty good return after initially bobbling the ball. Well, Coach Davey, as we go back to our Davy Jones locker, Coach, you talked about the style of football that they play now, the up-tempo football, and where does it fit in the big picture? We know where it fits in Davy Jones locker.
I can tell you where it started. You go back to 1989 in this state. John Jenkins, Andre Ware at the University of Houston was no huddle, trying to get the defensive signals, making the defense commit early. It actually started back at the University of Houston in a run and shoot in 1989 in this state. And then several high school coaches. You look at Gus Malzahn from Springdale, Arkansas. Art Browse, who's now the coach at Baylor, ran it at Stephenville. And even A&M putting in their no-huddle tempo went to Lake Travis High School. There's an A&M graduate named Chad Morris that's the head coach there. It was researched at the high school level here for A&M and their current offense.
So you're trying to tell me this is like the cradle of evolutionary offenses?
The mecca of great high school coaching right here.
Man, where's the love for the defense? A little defense on that play, though, by the Aggies. Mallett's arm appeared to be coming forward. They're going to call a dead ball, but good heat up front provided by Mangan. All this talk about offense got the defense all fired up, and a late flag. Grounding, perhaps.
Yeah, we're probably going to get intentional grounding.
Got to be outside that tackle box.
Plus, the ball has to pass the line of scrimmage, which I don't think either one of those two things happened. Now, Bobby Petrino's going to say there was an eligible receiver within the area. And he may win that argument.
There is no foul for intentional grounding. There was an eligible receiver in the area.
Arkansas offense struggling a little bit here in the second half. Great pressure. 21, yeah, their little running back, Michael Smith, would have been determined to be the eligible receiver. Featherstone and Von Miller both lined up at defensive end here for the Aggies.
And 3rd and 6 coming up. A great time for the Aggies to get a stop, but they won't get it. Michael Smith with a nice burst down the sidelines to get enough for the first down. So Smith showing off his receiving skills, picking up 9 on that play. This is second leading rusher in the SEC a season ago. And Bob, you have to love the fact that Michael Smith, a player that, think about this kind of patience, waited behind Darren McFadden, now with the Raiders, Felix Jones here playing for the Cowboys, and Peyton Hillis as well.
Well, also had hamstring surgery after the season. Was injured the first play against Georgia with a shoulder. Kind of an older guy, 22 years old. They call him Daddy because he mentors some of these young, talented, skilled guys Arkansas has. Look out.
Nice pass and catch by Daddy. Hey, Wendy, age isn't nothing but a number, right? Back to you.
You're absolutely right, Mark Jones. We're going to check in now. They won Auburn and Tennessee in Knoxville, 13-0. The Vols not yet on the board. Montario Hardesty, though, plunges it in. 13-6 Auburn over on ESPN and elsewhere in the SEC. Ole Miss over Vandy, 23-7.
All right, Wendy, Ole Miss bouncing back after being surprised by South Carolina on Thursday night a couple of weeks ago on ESPN. Here's Smith again. Authoritative look and run, picked up about 9 that time.
Yeah, and Bobby Petrino's dad sitting out there in Montana had to smile. They broke out the pistol offense.
Wow.
With the quarterback in the shotgun. Little Michael Smith, the tailback. Always hard to see that little tailback behind that 6'7" quarterback now.
Mentioned pulled out the old pistol, huh? Had a run and shoot. He talked about John Jenkins and Mouse Davis, the old Houston days. This is Broderick Green. How do defenses evolve? Have they been able to keep up with the offensive trends?
You know, Mark, the defenses are behind a little bit right now. There's no question, but I think you have to look at defenses statistically different. You know, when teams are running 90 plays a game, you're not going to have the same defensive statistics you had back in 1991. Right. It's just a matter of more plays, more snaps, more yardage. But I do think schematically a little bit, the defense is trying to catch up to all this spread stuff right now.
First down and 10. On the toss, Broderick Green over the 30 down to the 28. 5-yard pickup on the play, and we approach the top of the hour. Here's what's happening now. Ryan Mallett is what's happening now. 3 touchdown passes on the night, giving him a total of 10 for the season. And coming up, Bob Davie with his quarterly report. A review on whose stock is up and whose is down after the first quarter of the college football season. Aggies and Razorbacks contributions to this decade of college football as well. 2nd and 5. Mallett with all day and wide open. It won't come any easier than that. Smith, touchdown.
Boy, you get Michael Smith out of the backfield, isolated on the linebacker. Garrick Williams, that is a mismatch on that wheel route down the sidelines.
Tejada for the extra point. And it's 37-13. Well, I think Ryan Mallett made a nice career move deciding to transfer from Michigan. This system seems to be to his liking right now. Back after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by the new Samsung Dual View camera. Picture yourself in the fun.
Well, at midnight this morning, early this morning, as you can tell, Texas A&M Aggie fans getting together. Bob, one of the great traditions, yell practice. You got to explain those formations and the hand things, the gestures. You were there for, what, 9 years?
Yeah, Mark, and I'll tell you what, man, this is, think about this now. This is at midnight last night. You have that many people show up for midnight yell practice. I mean, what great support and great fans. 10,000 people there last night.
Great turnout. That was Lionel Smith on the kickoff return.
Look, let's look at this last touchdown. First, you're going to see Michael Smith lined up offset in the backfield right here. Now, he's going to run a wheel route and go up the sideline right here. Now, as he runs this, there's some confusion by A&M. Right here, you're going to see the corner ran inside with the wide receiver. That left the linebacker, number 8, Garrick Williams, on his own out in the flat and gave up the big touchdown right there. A busting coverage right there by A&M.
You get a flag down on this play on 1st down and 10. Meanwhile, the guy that, as you mentioned, is
dead ball, offside, defense,
affectionately called Daddy.
5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
With the touchdown catch. There is Michael Smith. Uncle, old man, a couple of other nicknames that his teammates call.
We're going with Daddy. We're going with Daddy.
You get the t-shirt after the game. 1st and 5, that penalty against the Hogs.
Boy, and those Arkansas defensive linemen, Mark, they are digging into that turf right now. It's stat time. Get up the field.
Johnson with nobody open and throws it away. He was looking in Cyrus Gray's direction, but there's too much pressure coming from Jarius Wright. And let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. All eyes on South Florida. Oklahoma at Miami. The Hurricanes hoping to bounce back after last week's loss to the Hokies. To Corey Harris, to Dedrick Epps. Miami with the lead 14-10. And this after the half. Cal, after the debacle against Oregon last week, scoreless against USC.
Boy, what has happened to Cal? The Bears struggling, and this is Gray. Gray out to the 30. Got enough for the 1st down. Some interesting things have transpired over the 1st quarter of the college football season. Several of the top 10 teams surprised, upset.
Yeah, this has been an interesting September in college football.
It certainly has. When you look at some of the major things that have happened, you look at the Tim Tebow injury, the catch made by McCoy, the tight end, LeGarrette Blount, and his situation, which has now taken a different turn. And Bob, tell us how you sum things up in your
Well, I think it's simple. Florida started ahead in everybody's opinion. We had them last week. They are still, to me, clearly a cut above of everybody else. Oklahoma, USC, tonight, sudden death. You know, 2 losses, you're out of it as far as the national championship.
Gray on the carry.
You know, and then I think the third thing, Mark, just the emergence because of Oklahoma, USC having a loss. Some of these other schools, you know, the non-automatic qualifiers, the Boise States, the Houstons, right down the road here, TCU, they've taken advantage of all of a sudden USC, Oklahoma missing from that top 5.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if one of those teams from an automatic qualifying conference ends up with 2 losses, where they slot Boise State. On 1st down and 10, incomplete. Bob, hey, what about some first-year quarterbacks getting it done across the country, too?
Yeah, you have a couple freshmen. Obviously, Matt Barkley at USC is a freshman quarterback who's done an outstanding job. The story of Greg Paulus at Syracuse, you know, off of the Duke basketball team, comes in as a 5th-year freshman. That's a remarkable story. The young guy at South Florida last week stepped up against Florida State.
Beckett appeared to step offside. Catch made by Howard Morrow. Flag down to the play. There's a look at Jake Beckett.
Another freshman quarterback, Forcier, at Michigan, who almost led a great comeback today for the Wolverines.
We had one earlier this year against the Fighting Irish in Ann Arbor. Tell you, that story right down the road with Houston is a pretty good one, but there's your freshman.
Ineligible downfield, offense number 15. Offside.
Well, young quarterbacks.
And you're talking about, that's USC and Michigan now. Those are as tradition-rich, big-time programs. To step into those environments as true freshmen. And both those young guys from California. So you talk about good high school football. You have to put California in that mix too now.
Second down and 10. Pass complete. Johnson on the mark to McNeil, who catches his first pass of the game, and a first down into Arkansas territory at the 45. He picked up 14 that time. There's another freshman on that team, Kenrick McNeil.
Yeah, freshman, Mark. He was a quarterback in high school down at Spring, Texas, right outside of Houston. You know, both these teams, as we mentioned, young, skilled players.
Into the boundary, this is Christian Michael. Another one of those talented freshmen on the field for the Aggies.
You know, we talked about in the open, both these teams trying to be a factor in their conferences. You know, A&M and the Big 12 South, tough conference right now. Arkansas and the SEC West.
Well, here's Michael again, straight ahead. And it looks like he picked up enough for the first down. And in the SEC, Bobby Petrino's team, well, this isn't a conference game for them, but they have a murderer's row schedule coming up. Next week, they take on Arkansas, and then down the road, two tough ones. Pardon me, not Arkansas, Auburn. Two tough ones coming up against Florida on the road.
And LSU on the road. And I think Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, back to back. This game becomes paramount for them. Johnson completes it to Gray. And Gray out of bounds. Brought down hard right at that first down boundary. Let's look at that. At Florida and at Ole Miss.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Auburn, then at Florida, at Ole Miss, at LSU. Not to mention a South Carolina team that's really a good defensive football team. And Mississippi State will be an improved team by the time they get to them.
Brought down at about the 23-yard line. Anthony Leon making stuff up. You look back at that schedule, there weren't a lot of breathers for Arkansas this year. I mean, you got to get some homecoming type opponents on it.
That's life in that Southeastern Conference, Mark. That's what it is.
Under 30 seconds to go in the third quarter.
But that's why this game tonight, we said, was a must-win game for Arkansas, even though it's early in the season.
11th play of the drive coming up for the Aggies. Arkansas trying to even their record at 2-2. Johnson completes it to Morrow. And Morrow out of bounds. We're going to spot it right near that first down marker. But a flag down on the play.
Yeah, we're going to get roughing the passer on Jake Paquette.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, number 91.
I'm going to say it right.
To the goal, automatic first down.
I hate to say it right after a penalty, but it is Jake Paquette. Beckett. I keep calling him Jake Paquette. Somewhere in my past, there was a Paquette that played for me.
Well, you've been through this state a lot, man. Yeah.
But it is Jake Beckett.
And he was the perpetrator that time on the penalty. Moves the ball all the way down to the 7-yard line. Carried by Gray and a fumble. And picked up by the Aggies. Was he down, though? That's the question.
Yeah, Matt Allen, number 70, fell on that football. The ball comes out. Obviously, every play is reviewed in college football, Mark. We'll see if he was down or not.
Gray scored the last touchdown. That's going to end the third quarter of play. It's still all pig suey. That's how they call him in Arkansas. We'll be back for the fourth period right after this. On ESPN, college football with Texas A&M within striking range as we start the fourth quarter of play. Arkansas leading 37-13. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, and this is the 66th chapter of this rivalry. Jerrod Johnson into the end zone. Tannehill, touchdown. Well, that's a great start in the fourth quarter for the Aggies.
And Ryan Tannehill beats Elton Ford. But Elton Ford, Mark, he lined up so far inside Tannehill, he could never get back out to that corner route. But an excellent throw, excellent start to the fourth quarter, as you mentioned.
Tannehill with his third touchdown catch of the season, the 8th of his career. They're going to go for 2 here.
A&M going for 2, obviously.
Ray in the backfield. Johnson flagged down on the play. Pass incomplete. See what this flag is about.
Chop block. Offense number 24. Counties decline. Try is over.
So it stays 37-19.
Let's take a look at this touchdown, Mark. You're going to see Tannehill right. Look at the inside position by Elton Ford. He can never recover back to the corner route. Excellent throw and catch. Not great technique by Elton Ford.
7-19 here, just underway in the fourth quarter. At Cowboys Stadium, I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey. That's Jerrod Johnson on the sidelines. Speaking to the guys up in the booth, figuring out how to do much more of what they just did, getting into the end zone.
Mark, they're kicking off from the 15 because of an illegal chop block on the 2-point conversion. A&M penalized.
23. That's Adams. And Adams tackled at the 37-yard line. Going to take another short break and come right back. Ryan Mallett, find out, see if he's still in his groove. $1.2 billion. Got to make sure that you put some things inside. U2 coming up on October 12th, the Big 12 championship game that you'll see as well. North Carolina taking on Texas, Cotton Bowl, and then the NBA All-Star game on February 19th. And you can catch some of that NBA celebrity game action on ESPN. I'll be here for that, Bubba. You're invited to come along if you want to come.
You got a little plug for that celebrity game in there, didn't you?
On the run, it's Joe Adams still on his feet across midfield and into A&M territory. Joe Adams with a nice run.
Talk about incredible balance. Watch Joe Adams late in this run, Mark. He comes off the reverse action. Watch him stay alive. Right there. I mean, that's great balance.
Good man walk.
You know, A&M right now has run 73 plays in this football game to Arkansas's 43 plays. A&M has snapped the ball 30 more times than Arkansas.
It all comes down to efficiency at the end of the day. Ronnie Wingo in the backfield. They toss it into the boundary to Wingo. Nice gain by the Razorbacks down to A&M's 42-yard line. Picked up about 7.
You know, A&M, we talked about the 3 wins early in the season. New Mexico, Utah State, UAB. Hadn't been tested. Next week, Oklahoma State comes to College Station. So next week, the Big 12 South season starts for the Aggies. The good news for A&M, they have Kansas State, Iowa State, and Colorado from the North Division, probably the 3 weakest opponents in the Big 12. The schedule worked out well for them.
Wingo again on the carry. Wingo broke the tackle, stays on his feet. For a strong, determined, resolved running by Ronnie Wingo. He picked up 11 and a first down for the Hogs.
And this is the freshman running back, Mark, we mentioned, hits it up in there. It almost looked like Joe Adams as far as a show of balance right there. They've got a good mixture of Michael Smith, Dennis Johnson, and they get the little bit bigger back in there. And with those receivers, I don't want to keep harping on it, but this will be a very, very good Southeastern Conference offensive football team as time goes on.
With Treatment's team bouncing back after going 4-8 last year. Mallett with a play fake.
Look out.
Complete to Childs. Childs breaking a couple of tackles, but went the wrong way. And is going to be brought down at the 31. Greg Childs, a guy who struggled back in the spring with a case of pneumonia, and that kind of affected his grades subsequently. And you know, nothing like a visit from mom and dad to get you quote unquote motivated and straightened out, which is exactly what happened. And he's come back and been very productive both in the classroom and on the football field for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
We have not seen one of my impact calls tonight, DJ Williams, the tight end.
Well, they set up the screen this time to the back, Michael Smith. And Smith brought down to the 27. Let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. We take you over to ABC and down to Miami. Check it out, Ja'Cory Harris looking. He will find Travis Benjamin for the successful connection. And Miami leading Oklahoma 21-10. Sam Bradford on the sidelines, but not in uniform. And on ESPN, 16-6, Auburn over Lane Kiffin's Tennessee.
The Hurricanes, huh?
Yeah, Miami under Randy Shannon.
Talk about a tough schedule. Whew, that has been a tough schedule.
It was plausible. Some people thought they'd go 0-4 to start the season. This pass complete underneath by Mallett down to the 10-yard line. Joe Adams with a great burst. And it could set up a 1st and goal for the Razorbacks. Well, Aaron Rodgers leads Green Bay into Minnesota, taking on Brett Favre and the Vikings. Packers-Vikings, ESPN's Monday Night Football. This game has storyline written all over it. It has Brett Favre written all over it. It all starts with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
Well, you better write Adrian Peterson down, too.
Yes.
Don't forget about number 28 now. But again, Mark, the speed of these Arkansas skill players. You see again, Joe Adams.
Broderick Green in the backfield now. Another one of those fast and strong players. Broke a tackle down to the 5-yard line. Remember, Arkansas came into this game 1-2, but those 2 losses were to some very competitive Southeast Conference teams, Alabama and Georgia, which was a shootout. 2nd and goal. Mallett hands it off once again to Green. And Green brought down a couple yards short of the end zone. It'll be 3rd and goal.
Yeah, Broderick Green gives them a power back along with the young freshman Ronnie Wingo. Nice mix of speed, Smurf kind of backs, and then the bigger power backs.
Broderick Green, Bob, a transfer from USC.
Now you talk about a stable of backs.
Might have been a little crowded in the backfield back there.
You know, we had Florida last week with the transfer from USC.
Moody. Here's 3rd and goal coming up. Here's Green. Stopped up a little bit short of the end zone. About a yard shy. Good stop by Trent Hunter. And it's 4th down coming up. 4th and goal.
Going with the field goal right here. That was an excellent tackle down there by Trent Hunter.
The field goal makes it a 21-point advantage if it's good for Arkansas. This one's going to come from 18 yards out. Now it's Tejada into attempt it. And a 21-point lead it is for the Arkansas Razorbacks, leading 40-19. You'd never know that Bobby Petrino's team is leading by 21, would you, by that reaction? Back after this.
Prime Time, brought to you by Chevy.
Back here at Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, some of the lasting images for the night. At the start of the night, the Aggie fight song. The cadets. Love those uniforms, Bob Davey.
That's some tradition right there.
It turned into all Razorbacks.
I'm not sure you could handle the regimen and the routine that those core guys go through. I'm not sure you can handle
I'm a morning person.
I give you a lot of credit, but I'm just not sure you're quite that disciplined.
I saw the movie Officer and Gentleman. I can hang. Winston Michael on the kickoff return out to the 32-yard line. And don't forget NASCAR coming up tomorrow on ABC. After winning at Dover, defending champ Jimmy Johnson has his sights set on current points leader and ageless wonder Mark Martin. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues at Kansas. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 Eastern on ABC. Aggies with the football. Down 21 points, 9.5 to play. Texas A&M played New Mexico, Utah State, and UAB prior to taking on Arkansas tonight. A step up in competition. Kind of reflective of what's happened on the scoreboard so far. Jerrod Johnson has a man, and it's caught at the 26-yard line. Bran Jackson hauls it in, and he took a hit too. One of the better looking passes Johnson's thrown tonight, good for 42 yards.
Yeah, Bran Jackson, a freshman out of Navasota, Texas, right down the road from A&M, gets behind the Arkansas secondary. Excellent throw, Mark, right between two defenders.
And they're going to review this play. You know, Bob talked about the schedule. New Mexico, Utah State, and UAB prior to this game against Arkansas for the Aggies. It's not like if you're Mike Sherman, the head coach, you have to apologize for the schedule you've played, especially with as young a team as you have.
And especially being in the Big 12 South. And, Mark, that's what everybody's doing in these power conferences. They're scheduling undermanned opponents for the non-conference games. That's what everybody in the country's doing. Obviously, this play being reviewed again to see if Bran Jackson had possession. I thought he did, but let's take a look at it. Wow.
Not as clear cut in slow motion.
Not as clear cut. I'm not sure there's enough evidence to turn it over, but I can see why they reviewed that. What do you think?
I'd give him the catch. I'd give him the catch.
Keep in mind, again, you fans have heard this a million times. To overrule it,
that would be indisputable.
It has to be indisputable. I don't think that was indisputable. Here's the best angle right here. Right there. You know, it looks like a catch to me. Just not enough to overturn. You know, Bran Jackson playing because Jeff Fuller, whose dad played at A&M, also played in the NFL, and A&M's best receiver, out with I believe a fibula fracture. Hope to get him back in the season, but you know, you're looking at Kenrick McNeil, a freshman, Bran Jackson, a freshman. Easy, number 7.
Wachiku,
a freshman.
Mike Sherman telling us that you know, he's had 14 true freshmen that play. At one point, he could have half of his offense consisting of true freshmen on the field.
But you know what's happening, Mark? Everybody's playing good guys. I mean, Arkansas is playing three true sophomore wide receivers and a quarterback that has 3 years of experience, 3 years left. You know, high school coaching has become so good that guys can step in, and these spread offenses, because there's so many chances for skill play. 6 touchdowns over 40 yards in 2 games. I mean, they give up some home runs now on defense. That's something they have to get solved now.
They made a couple changes in the secondary coming into this game. Most notably Stewart coming in for Broadway on the corner. This pass complete to Tannehill at the 22-yard line. And the aforementioned Andrew Stewart making the stop on the play. Yeah, Broadway had given up some deep balls in the game against Alabama. Second down and about 5 to go for the Aggies. That was Jerrod Johnson's 44th attempt tonight. Gray on the run. About 3 yards short of the first down. With about 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter here under the lights at Cowboys Stadium. It's SEC on ESPN. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie in the 66th edition of Arkansas against Texas A&M. 3rd down and 2. Johnson working out of the shotgun, a predetermined run, and nowhere to go for the quarterback. It'll be 4th down and about 5 after the loss.
Mark, you sit here, you look at watch this game. You're down there on the field before the game. Arkansas so much more physically mature, in my opinion, than A&M. Both offense and defensive lines, bigger, stronger, more mature looking.
One of those guys, Malcolm Shepard, who you saw a minute ago on your screen. Number 96, 4th and 5, and flags down in the field.
No hint of the old NFL Brett Favre offense that I see in this.
4th down and 10, and see what they've called up here. They'll get to the 17-yard line for the first down. Johnson with time, knocked loose, intended for Wachaku. And the Razorbacks will take over on downs. Krim making the hit. Arkansas with impressive showing here tonight against the Aggies, their old Southwest Conference rival.
Number 24, punting late in a tied game versus Clemson. Florida State instead called Punt-Ruski. The ball was snapped to up-back Dean Williams, who then slipped it between the legs of Leroy Butler. Butler rushed 78 yards to set up the game-winning field goal for the Seminoles, and the Punt-Ruski was born. Follow the top 30 countdown all season long. Brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings moment number 24. Clemson, Florida State. Boy, what a game, what a finish that was. Butler went on to play with the Green Bay Packers in the league, winning a Super Bowl. Don't forget, you can see the Packers and the Vikings on Monday Night Football tomorrow night on ESPN. Mallett to pass. Throws one up for grabs and almost intercepted by Trent Hunter. Intended for Curtis. There's 7:05 to go, and it's 2nd and 10. At what point, as Jerry Jones and Jackie Sherrill watch on, at what point do you maybe think about sitting Ryan Mallett down a little bit, Bob?
I think that's a good point, Mark. I mean, it is a 40-19 game. The game's obviously well in hand for Arkansas. Not yet, though. Not yet. Now, if you get one more, then you set them down. And you know, it's interesting, that topic came up. We had Florida last week
against Kentucky.
When Tebow got knocked out of the game.
When he got hit, though, there was still about 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. Not much momentum for Florida.
Exactly, and it's amazing. A couple days after that, when all the dust settled, the discussion came up, should Tebow have already been out of the game? Because, as you know, he went into the game sick.
Right.
But you and I both in the press box at the time, the way that game, I think that's a legitimate question. You have to ask that. It's 31-7. But the way the game was going, Florida hadn't scored since the first quarter. I think Urban Meyer was dead on keeping them in the game. But it gets back to this situation right here. I think if you get one more score, if you're Arkansas, but not yet, Mark.
Well, the good news for the Gators is that Urban Meyer expects Tim Tebow to play next week against LSU at LSU. And of course, Florida with the week off this week and a good time for a bye week for the Gators, ranked number 1. First down and 10 with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Wingo getting his go on. Ronnie Wingo, touchdown, Hogs.
Wow. That's a freshman. Exploded, Mark. That was acceleration right there.
A 62-yard burst across the turf. And it's 46-19.
And Arkansas fans, be patient. This is going to be a really good football team in time. There are some young, skilled players. That's the first time I've seen Bobby Petrino smile to me. Now you take Ryan Mallett.
Okay, there's your answer. Wingo with his first rushing touchdown of the season. Ronnie Wingo, the freshman. Wingo. You take the O off the Wingo, and you got some wings.
Oh, your reach is too hard. That's too far, too much of a reach.
Well, that run a minute ago by Wingo, the longest run this season, and look at the score by quarters. Razorbacks outside of the first quarter. dominant offensively against Texas A&M. Kristen Michael. Now the reverse to Ryan Swope with nowhere to go. Well, we got 9 more chapters of this game to come at this building. A look at some other costly buildings around the globe. Madison Square Garden checking in at 1.1. Real estate's about location, as they say. 1.3 for the new Yankee Stadium. I think Canadian taxpayers still paying off the bill in Montreal. And the new Wembley Stadium with their roof. Hey, this place is second to none, though. I'm not sure that any of those other places have a nice video board up top like this place does. Jerrod Johnson back to pass. And throws it out of bounds.
Yeah, if you could sign a deal right now, Mark, you and I, to do every game the rest of the season from this location, this is about as good as it gets now. I mean, the booth here, the sight lines for us, this is about as good as it gets. You didn't have to get overheated because it's kind of humid and rainy out there tonight. Your elements, you've controlled the elements inside here.
Big 12 championship game coming up here. Catch by the tight end, Jamie McCoy, and Wendy comfortable back in her surroundings in Connecticut. Wendy?
Well, nothing but the best here, Mark Jones, that's for sure. But don't look now over on ESPN. Perhaps we have a comeback of sorts. Auburn and Tennessee, Jonathan Crompton to Ontario Hardesty, and Tennessee with the touchdown, 23-13.
All right, Wendy back here. Jerrod Johnson on the move and getting the first.